Hello there guys, what is going on? SonOfChelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Tuesday. Transfer news once again on Jules Kounde surgery, Raphinha interest in the Leeds winger, Ousmane Dembele, a potential meeting with Thomas Tuchel. Also, Romelu Lukaku and that whole situation developing and going on, and potential swap deals that could happen this summer with Inter Milan. But before we get into any of that good stuff today, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already and are enjoying the content, hit that like button because it helps new people find the channel, but also hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads on the channel this summer. Let's start off with Jules Kounde because there was a massive panic last night. We thought he'd come through all of France's games unscathed. But then Didier Deschamps in the post-match interview, as he usually does, sort of breaks a lot of bad Chelsea injury news. I don't know what it is with Deschamps and Chelsea injury news, but and we're talking about a player who hasn't officially signed for Chelsea. But you know, once again, Jules Kounde, it looks pretty for several months now and weeks, especially. It's looked pretty confident that deal's going to get over the line, and you feel like, especially with all these international commitments starting to end, Kounde had to undergo surgery on Tuesday this morning, so it maybe has happened already in Bordeaux. Deschamps referenced a long-term injury. He spoke about a hamstring problem that forced Kounde off in the game last night against Croatia. This morning, the briefing and sort of the reporting was completely different over the scale of this injury and trying to calm people down, particularly from Sevilla releasing an official statement on their website referencing sort of a minor pelvis injury that is quite common. Apparently, Kounde has been dealing with it for most of the season, needed to get it done, and what Sevilla say themselves and what other people have as well is this injury itself is not going to keep Kounde out for months and months and months, at most 3 to 4 weeks, which when you think about his potential return date if he signs with Chelsea for our USA pre-season tour, would kind of keep him in line with a lot of other players. So it's not the end of the world. It is a little bit of a concern, but what I would say is that Chelsea have signed players who have had injury problems or have been recovering from injuries in the past. This is not a very unique thing. I mean, I could reference Diego himself, was suffering with hamstring problems at the back end of the last season with Atletico Madrid, 13-14, arrived at Chelsea. We know what happened there. Ben Chilwell signed for Chelsea with a heel injury he picked up at the back end of the 1920 season with Leicester. It's become quite clear as well that Chelsea knew about this, which I kind of expected when you're starting to hear like long-held injury problems, or this was something that was going to happen for a long time. You'd like to think Chelsea, so interested in this player and Kounde himself wanting to come to Chelsea, there would be some transparency on that. So it's not going to derail things. Hopefully the surgery went okay. Kounde's return time and rehab is pretty much what's been reported widely from medical experts as well. 3 to 4 weeks can get him into preseason training if the deal, of course, gets done, which still needs to be done with Sevilla, but there's confidence in that. And maybe the PR side of things for Sevilla, briefing that their player is not out for months and months, maybe makes him look like a more valuable asset to potential clubs. So there you go. Let's speak about Raphinha, and it kind of ties into Ousmane Dembele. The Athletic reporting today that a number of clubs, top clubs in the Premier League, are interested in signing Raphinha from Leeds, and Chelsea are one of those clubs, but they do report that Chelsea are currently working on a deal for Ousmane Dembele. More report backing up Chelsea's actual activity in the transfer window and the interest in Ousmane Dembele. I'll just tie this together with a piece from Forbes, which does reference another piece from Sport in Spain, that Dembele has had a meeting with Thomas Tuchel, and kind of that's the key thing pushing this deal potentially over the line, which isn't shocking, isn't breaking news that Tuchel and Dembele might want to work with each other again. I mean, that's not exactly a major surprise. But Raphinha is an interesting one as an attacker. 11 goals for Leeds last season. He is a player kind of in skill set that if we can't get Dembele, I mean, dream world, I'd like both, but I think we'd only probably get one of those attackers, or I may be proven wrong, but Raphinha would be a great plan B option. I just, once again, 1v1, I think, ability, his directness, I think, is really exciting to watch. And in a pretty poor Leeds side last year, you're getting 11 goals. He's a real threat, I think, and a player that can make things happen. A bit of a maverick. That's absolutely kind of the category I fit him into. And a player that, of course, is Premier League proven as well, which I think with other names we've mentioned across the league, in terms of players like Raheem Sterling or Gabriel Jesus, who could come in and there wouldn't be that fear of them being stunned by the Premier League and having to adapt very quickly, which is the one thing maybe against Dembele. He doesn't have any Premier League experience, and as we've seen in recent years, you're not quite sure how those players are going to adapt. But Raphinha, we know he can be quite impactful in the Premier League. I mean, Chelsea know that themselves. He did score against us, albeit from a penalty spot last year, and we saw Tuchel and him embracing after that dramatic game back in December. So one to watch. Arsenal linked, Tottenham linked. I mean, as I say, if the Dembele deal progresses and we get him and we're seeing continued links to Raheem Sterling and Gabriel Jesus, this may be one that that Chelsea miss out and someone else gets Raphinha, but he is an exciting player. Let me know your thoughts on Raphinha, because I do like him as a player. I think he, a bit like Dembele, just offers something in our attack that we don't currently have. And there was even some reports if Leeds were to go down, there could have been some sort of release clause. Of course, I think that deal was going to be a little bit more higher now as a permanent fee with Leeds staying up. But there still is quite clearly confidence growing among sub-clubs, including Chelsea, that a deal could happen with Leeds this summer. Let me know your feelings on both Dembele and also Raphinha in the comments below. But let's give the latest update on the Lukaku situation. Demarzio reporting that Inter Milan's current plan is to take one of Paulo Dybala and Lukaku into next season. They are currently in contract negotiations with Dybala. There's so much coming out about Lukaku and sort of his desperation to get back to Inter Milan. Other conflicting reports that apparently, it's more a case that Lukaku wants Inter Milan, but maybe Inter don't want Lukaku as much. And Ben Jacobs here reporting once again that Milan Skriniar is very much for sale. This does tie into the Lukaku situation. Skriniar wants his future resolved by early July, so expect some clarity soon. Spurs also interested, PSG heavily linked. Another defensive target there. We spoke a lot about defensive targets. Jules Kounde, I spoke about Koulibaly yesterday. Skriniar's been linked. Vardiel. So one of a number of names that you think it is going to be linked. I think once, if I'd say when, because it feels quite confident. Once the Kounde deal is done, particularly on the left side of the defence, I think that will become much more prominent. And given all the reporting, it doesn't mean that all these deals are going to happen in a row, as I mentioned with Slonina yesterday, just because we look at a certain area as a priority and maybe it's reported that area as a priority doesn't mean that those deals get done in sort of order. But very much that could be another area where Chelsea spend a lot, because we have heard consistent links to names. A name that has not, well, it has been mentioned, once again, my colleague Adam Newson did sort of link Chelsea to this player a few months back, and I did sort of a Y-Scout piece on him, and I found him quite an interesting sort of balance between a lot of targets that are being mentioned on that left side. Is Gleison Bremer, who is being heavily linked, I think, with Inter Milan as well as a potential target there, and Juventus I think have been linked to him too. Massive praise in Serie A last year for Torino, mid-table Serie A club, and given what Chelsea maybe need, the future of Levi Colwill, I thought Bremer as 25-26, he's kind of coming into his prime now, very similar age to when we bought Antonio Rudiger from Roma from the same league in 2017. So as I say, he's not completely blocking Colwill's path. He's also a little bit versatile. He hasn't just played on the left side of the defence. He can do that. He has played on the right in the middle of a back three for Torino. Kind of has played all over the place at times, even on the right side. So that maybe is something for Chelsea to look at. As I say, not a name compared to others that continues to be linked. De Ligt is another one too that has been linked. So let me know your opinions on these defensive targets on Skriniar. If you're an expert on him, if you're someone that thinks he could be a really good signing for Chelsea, particularly with the Lukaku situation, which is just a complete mess, a cluster fruitcake that has to be solved this summer. I'm not sure about swap deals because they just happen so rarely in modern football. Every summer we hear about potential swap deals, and I can count on maybe one hand the amount I've seen like serious swap deals in the past couple of years, the past decade basically. I mean, it just inside my head thinking of like deals that have happened from a Premier League context. You've got Mkhitaryan going to Arsenal, and Alexis Sanchez going to Man United. I mean, that was kind of a swap deal, wasn't it, in January of 2018? You can't think of many, and these deals are quite complex, and given the sheer amount of money and the loan fee being asked for Lukaku, I just can't see a swap happening. I may be proven wrong. But that is it for today's news video. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch it. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you don't miss any of the uploads on the channel. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you again very soon. All the best.